so many guys, you know, especially you guys are all nice guys.
We are pretty nice.
Right? Like,
solid character.
how much do you value a guy like Debo who's willing to talk trash and kind of like add some spice to the mix?
That's a good question.
I'm pretty good.
It is good. You know, humble brag. I like that. Tooting your own horn. You know what? You want guys to have their own personalities, their own swaggers. That's what makes a really good football team. Like, I don't want 53 guys who are all the same personality. Like, I like the melting pot. And when you have a guy like Debo who works the way he does, backs up the way he does, talks the way he does, I don't think he ever crosses the line either. Like, he just says what's on his mind. I don't think he's ever very personal with anything. Like, he just says what's on his mind. And I'm okay with that, especially when he backs it up with the work every single day and he backs up with his play on the field. So I love that. And it does elevate us. It does bring us this swagger. When you see him and Trent come out with the bump box, like, that's who this team is, and it's fun to have guys like that who are willing to speak their minds.
Do you feel like he does that because it's needed, or just because that's who he is, he was going to do it anyway?
It's not fake. I think he's done that his whole life. Ever since I've been with him, it's been pretty consistent. So I don't think he sees that as I need to do this to get the team going. I think I'm going to do this because that's what I want to do, and that's who he is, and I respect the hell out of that.
George, with Juwan, the last couple of weeks, he's had some big plays that he's really had to fight for. What is that mentality from him? Like, it's a similar one that you have, but what have you seen from him?
Juwan's a dog. He has been since he got here. He's fantastic. I mean, honestly, the coolest things from Juwan last week in Philly was, if you can go back and you can look at, like, there's like 3 run plays where he's knocking people on the ground. Like, he takes their defensive end and knocks them 5 yards down the field on the backside of an outside zone where he actually doesn't have to block anybody because they went the other direction. So, like, just his effort, his mindset, he's going to be scrappy, he's going to hit people. If that's what your wide receiver room is doing, it kind of sets a tone on all those DBs and everyone else that he's hitting, and it kind of makes them look twice every time that there's a run play because they don't know where they're going to get hit from. So a guy like Juwan doing that's just phenomenal for us.
And he's matured dramatically since he got here. How have you seen that happen?
I think the best thing I've seen from Juwan is, like, his personality stayed the same. The way he attacks football has stayed the same. His love for the game has stayed the same. He just, like, understood that it's a profession. This is your job. And so, like, the daily things that he does, I think he's developed a good routine. He's really good on his plays now. So just, like, the steps that you need to take to become a good football player, he's taking those consistently, which is great for us.
There was a third down in the second half that Brock hit Christian, who beat the linebacker, kind of like a little wheel route.
Yeah, done something.
Yeah, that play, both Brock and Christian had talked about an improvisation, an adjustment they made on the sideline right before it. And Brock has said that's the trust that I have in Christian. Are there moments like that you have with Brock now over the course of games where you'll make a little tweak to a route? And
not necessarily a tweak. It's just, hey, this is what I felt on that play. You know, hey, I'm going to stem it like this. I'm going to attack the guy like this to set it up, stuff like that. And Brock does such a good job. Like, he sees everything. It's really crazy. You know, you're a quarterback, the way that he, you know, his eyes go here to set this up over here, but he still sees the route that you're running. And, like, even after plays, like, hey, I like that, or hey, how about you try doing this instead so I can throw it to you at this part. And it's just, like, Brock has a very good sense of the game and where he wants to put the football, and then he understands what Coach Shanahan wants us to get done. And just in the timing of the play, he's very good at just getting the ball in the exact spot that we need to get it to make a play.
How about the definition of improv? Maybe last year's Cowboy playoff game. The bobbled catch?
Yeah, you know, definitely wasn't – that wasn't my route. But, hey, there's space. Brock keeps his eyes up. I've said that since day one, as Brock does a great job of extending plays and keeping his eyes up. He does such a good job of that, and it allows us to make plays. You know, it's really hard to cover somebody for, like, longer than 5 seconds. And so if that, you know, that plays drags out that long, he's going to find somebody.
On the topic of receivers, have you noticed the almost equal distribution of balls between you, Christian, Ayuk, almost like 50 receptions this year, and then Debo's not far behind?
It's pretty fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like, everyone was asking us, like, there's a lot of mouths to feed. You know, are you going to be upset? No, I've had a game where I had 1 catch for 1 yard, 1 catch for 8 yards. I've had 9 catches for 149 yards. So it's like, no, I mean, it is what it is. The ball's going to, you know, Brock's going to find us. Kyle's going to call plays for us, and it's just taking advantage of that opportunity, you know, when the time comes for you. And I think our team does such a great job with that. So that's all we're really focused on, is just, hey, when's my opportunity? I'm going to go out and attack it. And then, hey, if my number's not called, I'm going to do everything I can to help that guy, whoever's number is called, go score.
How's this for a segue for the Seattle game?
Oh, all right.
Which is tougher, seeing a division opponent the first time or the second time?
Or the third time. We did that last year with them too.
Yeah.
So we've done that a couple times. The fact that it's so close back to back. Like there's a lot of things that worked really well for us. There's some things that didn't work well for us. So it's just kind of a cat and mouse game of what are they going to change? What are we going to change? Who's going to change anything at all? I find that fascinating. But, I think that Seattle's definitely in a place where they're going to give us everything they got. And I feel like it's going to be a very difficult game. Every time we play Seattle I played them, I'm in year 7, so I played them quite often. And I've had really tough games against them. I've lost by a lot to them. I've won by a lot against them and a lot of, the tight squeezers. And all it is just how consistent can you be from the first play on, and who's going to do right longer. And I feel like that's just every Seattle game that we've played against them.
How do you guys maintain the urgency you played with last week? I mean, you said it was just another game, but you guys were really up for that game. How do you keep it going?
Keep giving the ball to our playmakers in space. I think our guys are doing a great job. I think Kyle, I love the game plan this week. How we're going to attack them. I'm really a fan of that. You can find out on Sunday, 1:25 kickoff, Pacific time.
All right, you got same matchup that you had just less than 2 weeks ago. How do you mentally approach this?
Just approach it like any other game. Just still with the goal is the goal. Obviously to come out and win the game, but I think just we want to still be that dominant team that we were last week. And we want to be better than last week. And it's really just going to be the little details, This is a team that knows us, know what we does. And they familiar with us. And, we just got to come ready to play because they're going to bring the intensity.
I saw you and Mooney both out there trying to catch balls today. How much, what's your goal for interceptions coming up for the rest of the season?
My goal was 6. But if I was to get more, I'd be happy too.
How much has he changed throughout this course of the season? I mean, he's leading the league in pass breakups.
Oh yeah, he's always been locked down. It's just like he just finally starting to get the recognition. I would say because I didn't seen him, go at it with some of the best receivers in the league, and they don't even have him ranked as like a top 10 corner. So I've been seeing them work, watching them work this whole off season, OTAs, training camp, and it's not even close.
Before the season started, a lot of people outside the building were saying that the secondary might have been the weakest part of the defense, and now you guys are holding your own. How good does that feel?
It feels great because we got a lot of underrated players in our secondary, and I feel like we all should be getting recognition because it's not as easy as people think just because we have a great rush. They think it's easy to cover receivers. No, you still got to line up and you still got to face some of the top receivers. And the rush ain't going to get there every time. So, the other times that the rush is not getting there, we still got to cover. I'm just happy we starting to get the recognition that we deserve.
What can you say about Ambry's improvement? He's playing outside so you can play inside.
Yeah, he's a big help for this team. He got us better in so many ways, with just being able to be a dog on the outside, and just being able to move me in the inside and him to come in and just play lights out. It's just been great.
You guys came in together. Take me back from where you guys were when you came in as rookies to where you are now.
Well, we already knew each other as rookies because we played on the Army Bowl. We played on the Army Bowl, the opening together, on the same team. So we already was familiar with each other. So once we got here, once we got drafted, and then we did meetings with our position coach, and then after that, we exchanged numbers, and then we just got closer. So when we got here, we already knew each other, and we just stuck by each other's side every day.
You're still as close?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And talk about where you are now. The both of you.
Now, and I feel like we didn't progress so much as players. We dealt with the bad, the good. They gonna love you at one moment when you're up, and they gonna hate you when you're down. It was at a point in time where we was both inactive together, and we just dealing with it just keeping our head down, and we just kept working and never flinched.
How much did you guys lean on each other during that?
Big. It was big. We was probably at that time we probably was just staying at each other's house. Like, you know, he's like go home together, like watch film together, study together. It was like, so that's why I'm like every time he make a play, I'm happy for him. When every time I make a play, he happy for me. So like we already knew the struggle and we know what we've been through.
You guys enjoying finally being on the field together at the same time?
Oh yeah. We didn't talked about this for so long, and it finally happened to where like we rolling and we on a great team, got great players around us, and it's just second to none.
Play fake on the backside there, and it's like if you don't carry out that fake, Tebow probably doesn't get the touchdown. How do you go into that mindset of just making sure that whether you're on the ball or away from the ball, that you're doing everything you can?
You know, I think for one, it's coached. You know, it's coached to play without the ball, and you know, Bobby Turner takes a lot of pride in our room playing without the ball, whether it's blocking or faking or you know, blocking downfield when someone gets a catch. So it's just a point of emphasis that we go over all the time, and I think it's not always a big deal, but when it is, it's huge. And good fake can be worth 2 blocks if you get enough people, and so you know that can be the difference between springing someone for a touchdown or not.
Christian, your former position coach Lance Taylor was talked about when you were still in high school and you can enroll early in Stanford. You would call him or text him every night, trying to get up to speed on the playbook. You know about how? Can you talk a little bit about that process of learning, and how long did you bug him every night?
It was a long time ago. I don't know if I remember all of it, but you know, I think anytime you're coming into a new offense, the most important thing is just to learn the plays, and so I learned best, you know, communicating, talking, hearing the plays from somebody else. You know, after you've studied it on paper, I think you really need the verbal aspect of it as well. So just listening to somebody say the plays out loud, you can kind of put yourself in the huddle and in your head put yourself where you're going to be. And so, yeah, I mean, as much as I had to learn it, that's as much as I called.
Yesterday that you're as good as any player he's ever been around without the ball. Just I think a pretty good compliment for a guy who does so much damage with the ball in his hand. What point in your career life was it sort of stressed upon you that how important that was?
I think it's just always, you know, that's a good compliment. It's always been something I take a lot of pride in. I think when you're on this team and you see a guy like Juwan Jennings blocking D ends and you know, Brandon Ayuk blocking 60 yards down the field, and these guys who are working so hard for you when you have the ball, it'd be a shame if you didn't do the same for them.
With Juwan Jennings, he's had a couple plays where he's really had to fight for it the last couple of weeks. What do you see in that mentality from him?
He's a dog. You know, he's such a good player, man. I think, you know, obviously him, you know, Debo and Brandon get so much limelight and credit, but when you look at what he does, you know, not just with the ball in his hands, but blocking, he's such a special football player that's very difficult to replace. So he's a tone setter. He's a guy that you love to have on your team.
Christian, as a running back, what's your review of Brock Purdy's second quarter scramble where he put his shoulder into 2 defenders and tried to get to the goal line?
Yeah, the first one was great. I just, you know, I would have liked to see him slide. I think we all would, but he's a tough dude, man. So anytime, you know, he has an option to do that, as a competitor, it'd probably be tough for him to slide. But I loved it. Just don't want to see it again.
He just talked a little bit about your back and forth before the wheel route in the second half. Can you take us back through kind of that on-the-fly adjustment that you made?
Yeah, you know, that I kind of told him just based off how the safety and some of these guys were playing me on the first one. Really with leverage, I was going to just widen it a little bit more, and he ended up throwing the ball before I was out of my break in the perfect spot, and it worked out. You know, that happens a good amount of time. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it's a cool feeling.
Is that the type of thing that you're seeing a lot more of this year, kind of the ball waiting for you when you're coming out of the break than maybe when he was a little bit younger and less experienced?
I wouldn't even know one way or another. I think he's always been dialed in. I think that's something he does so well is throw to a spot where the person's going to be. I think he's always done that really well, and he's continuing to do it.
Chris, as you know, Shanahan says you still have maintained a walk-on mentality. And I think it kind of goes against human nature to not ease up just maybe a little, even after you've accomplished so much. How has that been instilled in you, and how do you have to fight against human nature at all?
I think experience is so important and powerful, and I think when you do take your foot off the gas, you get humbled really quickly, and I've learned that. Not that I've taken my foot off the gas. I don't think I've ever not tried hard, but it's just important in this league to respect the game and respect what it takes to play this position and to be a starter on an NFL football team, and it requires your all. And that's why I give my all. It's what the sport requires. So I think for me it's just about constantly doing everything possible to be the best player you can be.
How have you been humbled?
Well, you go through injuries, you go through losses, losing seasons. It's little things too. You might get beaten in a rep in practice. That's you think you're great until you lose, and then you're like, well, I'm not great anymore. I lost. So just there's constant things. That constant urge for better is really important.
On yourself with your practice reps.
Say it again.
How hard are you on yourself with your practice reps?
Very hard. I think we're all hard on ourselves. We want everything out there to be perfect. Obviously, you have to practice for a reason. So you try to be perfect, and when you mess up, you just correct it and move on.
What's your mindset when it comes to seeing an opponent that you just played 2 weeks ago? Is it an advantage that you played them so recently?
I try not to think of it as an advantage or disadvantage. I think, each week is a new week, whether you've played them or not, and so for us, we look at the tape the same as if we hadn't played them at all. And, obviously you're going to look at some stuff that they did last game, some stuff that we did last game, and make adjustments when needed. But each week you got to bring it.
Christian, you're a busy guy, but have you had any chance to watch your bro at all, Luke, this year, and give us the scouting report on him? I know he plays wide receiver. I know he plays quarterback.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Yeah, I've watched every snap of every game. It's been so cool to watch him, man. I mean, I love watching them more than anything I do. That's like my favorite thing on the planet. And so, it's really his first full year playing receiver, and he was first team all conference. If I'm a scout, I mean, he's got every tool you need. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. He can play any position, and I think, and Bobby Turner always talks about what the greatest compliment you can give someone is that they're a football player, and that's exactly what he is. You look at, I don't know how many Sports Center top catches or whatever he had, but I would love to play with him one day. That'd be the coolest thing ever. So I'm excited for him and his journey, and he's only going to get better.
When you see Debo do what he does, is it more impressive watching it like on film or live on the field?
Probably on. I mean, they're both impressive. Sometimes I don't get a good view if I'm in the play of him and what he's doing. So when I'm watching on film, you can really see how impressive it is.
When he's like, is he running by you on the field, or you see something you're like, yeah, this is crazy?
I just think the physicality he plays with, the want to get more yards, he's got something that a lot of receivers don't have in this league, just that constant, that toughness, that willingness to, put his shoulder down and continue to fight for more yards and break tackles.
Mm-hmm.